At Terra Caribbean, we work closely with developers, advising on trends, pricing, and what the market really wants. Today, though, we're lucky to have with us Ian Georges, a residential developer who's doing something very different in the TNT landscape. Ian, it's a real pleasure having you here with me this morning, man.
Thank you for having me.
You know, as a developer with a passion for, repurposing real estate, it's something that really resounds with me, And you said it before that downtown Port of Spain needs new life into the city. And the concrete and steel is there already, so what are we going to do with it?
JP, the more I travel, the more I see that you can just change your own city and you can do it as you wish. As Trinidadians, we can do anything we want. We have the capacity, we have the knowledge, we have the trained personnel to do it. And we can make Port of Spain fantastic. People can live there, we can have sidewalk cafes, we can make it just like any other city in the world. Great restaurants, still with a commercial aspect to it, but we can change the way we live. We don't have to spend 10, 12 hours a week commuting. We have great schools down in downtown Port of Spain. Our lives can be there with everything that we need right around it, and I think that we have the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely, and we've seen it in other cities around the world, right? and what we see as a challenge from the buyer's perspective is the affordability of it. So while there are affordable properties in Trinidad and Tobago, generally they're outside of the capital cities, right? So I could find you a nice house down the east-west corridor or central, but if you have to commute into Port of Spain, well, that's misery.
Well, as I was telling you earlier, the Americans have a saying for it, you drive till you qualify. So although you work in Port of Spain or you work in New York, you have to just keep driving until you actually qualify for a property that you can buy.
Right.
But we could bypass that. We could bypass that. We could actually, you're working here and you can live there and your quality of life is right there. By and large, all the governments that have passed through Trinidad and Tobago, they're supportive of it. They want to see Port of Spain and San Fernando as well be repurposed and regenerated and bring life back into the city. It's best for all of us, even from a green perspective, from an environmental perspective. How much buses and cars and all this stuff do we need? So we can bring people back into the city and we can do it affordably. Because, as you like to tease me, I like to say this concrete and steel is still there, but it is there. So we don't have to start from scratch. Right?
Yes.
So why spend money to build something new when there's something there that we can still use?
Absolutely, and I love that. And you were very successful with a project recently.
So where we are is we're just one building below Park Street on Pembroke Street. So it's perfect. You're working just down the road. Your kids can go up the road to CIC or Convent. Your drinking spot is the Avenue, which is not far. That's where your recreation is. And then your back door, you have the Savannah. I mean, when you look at other gentrification projects in the world, because we're not the first to do this. In fact, we are very late to the table on this. You take a place like Harlem, which was really a very, very, very rough area 50 years ago.
Yes.
But they had a fantastic little green space called Central Park. And we're in the same situation where we have beautiful space. There's the Savannah, which has everything, entertainment, sporting, you run your ball, walk the Savannah, everything is right there. And I think that Trinidad is in a great position to do that. And people want to help you to do that. But you were raising a point, JP, that I want to get back to where you're saying that on the pricing. We have to forget the days of how it used to work, where I had this building in town and I could just call any price.
Right, absolutely.
That is not happening. The market now is middle to low income. You're building a lot of the people who have the older buildings, those buildings have been written off. I'm sorry, you can come with a more attractive pricing. But then look at it differently and say, well, listen, let me partner with the developer. Let's look at it differently because, like it or not, our interest rates in the short term aren't going to drop, right? Worldwide, that's what we're seeing worldwide. I
agree.
So let's partner with the developer. Let's do this together because then when the developer is now strapped with a building he's bought,
Yeah.
Then he's paying interest on this while he's awaiting his approvals.
Yep. Yeah. So you made some really good points there. Really good points.
While you're waiting for your approvals, you're paying this heavy interest rate. Whereas if the guy with the building can partner, that's one different way of doing it. You could do it yourself, but the target market still has to be middle to lower income.
Yes, agreed. So this is a customer-driven environment now. This is a buyer's market, right?
That is correct.
And we need to build for what Trinidadians can afford.
That's right.
Trinidadians with combined incomes, what can they afford? And what would then make sense from a financial perspective? So yeah, obviously you look at real estate or property that's existing because there's value there already. And as you said, instead of putting out $2, $3, $4, $5 million to buy a shell of a building and then repurpose it, building owners can come to Terra Caribbean with a building that they would like to do something with, even if they don't have the capital. We can bring a developer like you, Mr. Georges, to the table, partner with them, where you would get the approvals done, you would throw some money at it, so to speak, make it pretty, dress it all up, and sell it off as residential units.
But we have a lot of good and relatively stringent laws here that will make sure that the buildings are still safe, that will comply with all the regulations, particularly for air circulation, so that you have windows. We're not building some places that are only for mushrooms, these little dark holes. No, let's build something nice, because regardless of your income, you want the same thing that I want. You want to live in a nice, safe, decent space. That's where you want your kids to live, like everybody else. And we can do that in Port of Spain. We can do that. And everybody, I think, is aligned on that. Everyone is aligned on that. Even the government authorities, the people at Port of Spain City Corp, they are aligned with that. The people at Town and Country Planning, they are aligned with that. The government is aligned with it. Let us just all get on board and do it.
No, absolutely. And I've seen some of the work that you've done, and it really is a quality product at an affordable price. And, there's a significant amount of aged property in Port of Spain that used to be government offices or offices on the whole. And the offices have generally moved out of downtown, more uptown areas. In fact, the office market is much more affordable now for the tenant. It's more affordable for a tenant to get into an A-class space up here. So there really isn't much of a demand downtown anymore. The government is encouraging us to bring life into downtown Port of Spain, and it can be done. So I think it means partnerships. It means, having a conversation with the building owners and finding the way forward.
But, there are a lot of other developers who have brought a lot of fantastic properties to Belmont, for instance.
Right, Belmont is a great
that's a place
example.
It looks different now. It already looks different. There are properties there now that are affordable, very, very comfortable. You're so close to Port of Spain. It's, I know a lot of people who live in Belmont now and they walk to work. Their cars are weekend cars. Their cars are weekend cars. And so Belmont can happen. If Belmont can happen, then downtown Port of Spain can happen. And there's still actually a very small population who still live in Port of Spain. But if you talk to people, one of the business owners I was talking to recently, she had just sold a building, Miss Francois of Oscar Francois, their head office is.
Right, sure.
But that office was where her grandmother lived.
Wow.
That is residential that we made commercial.
Yes. And it may come full circle.
And it needs to come back.
Right.
Exactly. So, but that's where a lot of Trinidadians grew up, in downtown Port of Spain. And
in Belmont and a lot of those areas.
That's right. I mean, my mother is from Belmont. So I think it's going to come back.
So what I'm hearing here is, think outside of the box. Let's not continue to do things the way we used to do it. Let's change the narrative.
Don't start me, right?
I know you're passionate about this, of course.
We just keep focusing on the negative. The reality is, we have a massive economy. That's the truth, right? We have a trained personnel. We can do whatever we want to do. Our Point Leasas has been running for how many years? Very successful. We have the capacity to do what we want to do once we set our mind to do it. Trinidadians can do it. So let's stop just spending all our time discussing all the issues we have and start saying, let's go forward.
Correct.
Where are we going? And let's do this. I was talking to a friend of mine who'd spent a long time in South Africa and saying, the problems they have there. And he said, basically, they started to say, look, I'm fed up of the complaining. Let's form a plan. Let's get a plan. Stop whinging. Let's get a plan and let's go forward. Let's get a plan. Let's go forward. And we can do that. Port of Spain, San Fernando as well.
Yeah.
San Fernando as well.
Yeah, Trinidadians are great people with great initiative and can do so much.
Creativity.
Right? So keep it positive and let us find, products that are affordable. Because the challenge quite often for young people is that they need to rely on a fairy godmother to leave them a little money so they could afford a property, right? But we want to get them on the property ladder early because it's good financial advice for them to invest their money in property. And so we need to find a novel way to offer a product. And I think you have a good...
But all the governments in Trinidad, all the governments have always been trying to encourage home ownership, whether it is through TTMF and any number of these other institutions where they have offered loans at a lower rate to encourage that. Correct. They will have a ceiling. So basically, they are telling us, if I produce a product at this price range, we will provide the finance.
That's right. So you have the financing sorted, you have heavy discounts on the stamp duty side of things, right? In fact, there's no stamp duty up to $2 million for a first-time homeowner.
Correct.
So there's loads of incentives there that we should capitalize on.
And let's focus on that market. But if you, I hate to say that I disagree with all the developers who are producing these products for $5-8 million.
That is no longer viable. So that is a market of 10, 15 years ago when Trinidadians were buying property to rent to expats from an investment perspective. But the expats are out of the market now.
They're gone.
Right? We are building for Trinidadians, what our people can afford.
And I can tell you what we need, and we need product below 1.5.
Right.
That's what we need. And the market is there. And I am not suggesting we do this for altruistic reasons, I'm saying do this so you can make money. Oh, by the way, you also help your country, which is a good thing, right?
Absolutely. So it can be profitable as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It is. But if the owner of the product, let's partner, let's go forward, and let's see what we can do.
Love it. So thanks again, Ian, for joining us. I love the positive vibe. I love the thinking outside of the box. And should any of our viewers, have an opportunity they would like to bring to the table, we can certainly bring you guys together and discuss a way forward.
I would love that. Thank you very, very much, JP, for having me. Thanks you very
again
much.
for coming
Terra
in.
Thinking forward, man.
Appreciate that, Ian.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Take care.